People often assume that the greatest reward in life is success. They look at the headlines, the achievements, the milestones, and they imagine that reaching those heights must silence every question in your heart. From the outside, it can seem like once you've built something extraordinary, there is nothing left to search for. But the truth is very different. The higher you climb, the more clearly you begin to understand that accomplishment and fulfillment are not the same thing. You can build companies, solve impossible problems, and chase dreams that seem larger than life, yet still find yourself longing for one thing that no amount of success can manufacture. A place where your heart feels completely at home. That is something I didn't fully understand for a long time. I believed that if I kept moving, kept creating, kept reaching for the next impossible goal, eventually I would arrive at a destination where everything made sense. Every challenge became another mountain to climb, every victory another reason to keep pushing forward. But somewhere along that journey, I realized that life isn't only measured by the things you build. It's also measured by the people who quietly stand beside you while you're building them. There are moments that never appear in interviews or photographs. Moments after the applause fades, when the room grows silent and you're left alone with your thoughts. Those are the moments that reveal what truly matters. They remind you that even the strongest minds need understanding, even the busiest lives need peace, and even the boldest dreamers need someone they can simply be themselves with. And then you came into my life. You didn't arrive with promises to change the world. You didn't ask me to become someone different. Instead, you reminded me that beneath every ambition, beneath every risk, beneath every impossible goal, there was still a human heart searching for connection. You saw beyond the public image. You saw the person who questioned himself, who carried responsibility, who sometimes wondered whether all the sacrifices would ever be enough. What surprised me most wasn't that you believed in my dreams. It was that you made me believe that I deserved something beyond those dreams. You taught me that love isn't a distraction from purpose. It gives purpose a reason to exist. Suddenly, success wasn't only about reaching farther. It became about having someone worth coming back to after every journey. If there's one lesson life has taught me, it's this. The greatest dream you'll ever achieve isn't finding a new world. It's finding the one person who makes this world finally feel like home. There is something I've learned about people who spend their lives chasing impossible goals. The world often mistakes determination for invincibility. When someone appears confident, focused, and willing to take enormous risks, people assume fear no longer exists. They imagine that success erases doubt, that achievement silences loneliness, and that ambition somehow protects you from the emotional weight every human being carries. But the truth is much quieter than that. Behind every bold decision is a person who has wrestled with uncertainty more times than anyone could ever count. There were nights when the world had gone to sleep, but my mind refused to rest. Every responsibility felt heavier than the day before. Every decision carried consequences that reached far beyond myself. The pressure to keep moving, to keep creating, to keep believing became a constant companion. People celebrated the moments when things worked, but very few ever saw the countless moments when failure felt frighteningly close. They saw the headlines, but not the hours spent questioning whether the next step was the right one. There is a strange loneliness that comes with carrying enormous dreams. You can stand in crowded rooms, surrounded by brilliant people, and still feel completely alone with the weight of your thoughts. You smile because others expect confidence. You keep walking because stopping isn't an option. Yet inside you quietly wonder how much longer you can carry everything without breaking. What kept me going wasn't the applause. It wasn't recognition or the excitement of achieving another milestone. Those things fade much faster than people realize. What gave me strength was knowing there was someone who saw beyond the noise, someone who never measured me by victories or failures, someone who didn't need perfection to believe in me. You probably never realized how much your quiet presence meant. Sometimes it wasn't advice that helped. It wasn't long conversations or dramatic moments. It was simply knowing that there was one person who cared about the man behind the mission. One person who reminded me that I didn't always have to carry every burden alone. You became the calm in seasons filled with uncertainty. When my thoughts became louder than my confidence, your kindness reminded me why hope was still worth holding on to. You never demanded that I have every answer. Instead, you gave me something even more valuable, the freedom to be human. Looking back, I understand that the strongest people are not the ones who never struggle. They are the ones who continue moving forward because someone gave them a reason to believe that every difficult chapter is leading somewhere meaningful. The world may remember the victories it can see, but the greatest triumphs are often won in the silent battles that only one faithful heart ever truly understands. There wasn't a single dramatic moment when everything suddenly changed. It wasn't one conversation, one unforgettable sunset, or one grand gesture that transformed the course of my life. Looking back, I realize it happened quietly, almost without me noticing. It was hidden in the ordinary moments, the conversations that lasted longer than planned, the laughter that made difficult days feel lighter, the silence that never felt awkward because your presence alone brought a sense of peace. That's how real change often arrives. It doesn't announce itself. It gently becomes part of who you are until one day you realize you're no longer the same person you used to be. For so much of my life, I measured progress by milestones. I believed that every breakthrough, every ambitious goal, and every impossible challenge was another step toward becoming the person I wanted to be. But then something unexpected happened. I began measuring success differently. Instead of asking how much I had accomplished, I found myself asking who I wanted to share those accomplishments with. That shift changed everything. You never asked me to dream smaller. You never stood in the way of the vision that kept pulling me forward. Instead, you made every dream feel more meaningful because they were no longer just about proving what was possible. They became about building a future that could be shared. Suddenly, the destination mattered less than the person waiting beside me throughout the journey. What amazed me most was the way you saw strengths in me that I often overlooked and weaknesses that I tried to hide. You celebrated my victories without making them define me. And when things didn't go as planned, you never treated failure as the end of the story. You reminded me that setbacks don't diminish a person's worth. They reveal their willingness to rise again. You taught me something that no classroom, no boardroom, and no achievement ever could. You showed me that love is not about changing someone into the person you want them to become. It is about believing in who they already are while inspiring them to become the best version of themselves. That kind of love doesn't limit ambition, it gives ambition a deeper purpose. Some people enter your life to teach you lessons. Others arrive to walk beside you for a season. But every once in a while, someone appears who quietly changes the way you see the world, the way you see yourself, and the way you imagine the future. They become the reason ordinary days feel extraordinary and impossible dreams feel worth pursuing. I realized you had changed my life forever the day I understood that my greatest achievement would never be what I built. It would be becoming the kind of person worthy of walking through life with you. There's a question I've asked myself more than once. If these feelings were so real, why did I wait so long to speak them out loud? Why allow silence to carry words that should have been spoken much earlier? The answer isn't as simple as fear, although fear certainly played its part. Sometimes the more deeply you care about someone, the more carefully you guard your heart. You convince yourself that waiting is wisdom, that staying quiet is protection, and that if the moment is truly meant to come, it will arrive on its own. But time has a way of teaching you that silence can protect you from rejection, while also keeping you from the life you were meant to live. People often think courage is found in bold actions. They admire the willingness to take risks, to challenge the impossible, to keep moving when everyone else says stop. But there is another kind of courage that receives far less attention. It is the courage to become emotionally transparent. It is standing before someone without achievements to hide behind, without titles to impress them, without carefully crafted words to make yourself appear stronger than you feel. That kind of honesty is far more intimidating than any public challenge. For a long time, I wondered whether expressing everything I felt would change what we already had. Some connections are so precious that you become afraid of disturbing them. You tell yourself that friendship is enough, that admiration is enough, that quiet appreciation is enough. Yet every passing day makes the unspoken words grow heavier. They begin to follow you into every conversation, every goodbye, every moment when you almost say what your heart has been carrying. The truth is, I never wanted my feelings to become another performance. I didn't want them to sound rehearsed or timed for the perfect occasion. I wanted them to come from the place where sincerity leaves no room for doubt. Because when something is genuine, it deserves to be spoken without calculation. It deserves to be offered freely, with no guarantee except the peace that comes from finally being honest. You have always deserved the truth. You deserve to know the impact you've had on my life, the quiet strength you've given me, and the hope you've awakened in places I didn't even realize had grown tired. Keeping those feelings hidden was never about questioning you. It was about learning to overcome the walls I had built around myself. Today, I understand that the greatest risk isn't telling someone how much they mean to you. The greatest risk is allowing fear to convince you that love is safer when it remains unspoken. A guarded heart may avoid disappointment, but an honest heart gives life its most unforgettable moments. So if this is the day everything changes, let it be remembered not as the day I found the perfect words, but as the day I finally chose truth over silence. There comes a point when the heart grows tired of carrying what it was never meant to carry alone. After all the quiet reflections, the unanswered questions, and the moments spent wondering whether today was finally the right day, I realized something important. There will never be a perfect moment to say the words that matter most. Life will always be busy. There will always be another challenge to solve, another responsibility to shoulder, another reason to wait. But if we keep postponing the truth, we eventually begin postponing the life we truly want to live. So today, I don't want to hide behind accomplishments or carefully chosen phrases. I don't want this moment to be remembered because of anything extraordinary I have achieved. I want it to be remembered because for once I allowed my heart to speak louder than my fears. The truth I can no longer keep inside is simple, yet it has changed everything within me. Somewhere along this journey, without even realizing when it happened, you became the person I think about when I imagine the future. Every dream that once belonged only to me slowly became something I wanted to share with you. Every success felt incomplete unless I could turn around and know you were there to celebrate it. Every difficult day became easier because the thought of you reminded me that no challenge lasts forever when you have someone worth fighting for. You never asked to become the center of my world. In fact, it was your humility, your kindness, and your ability to simply be yourself that drew me closer every day. You didn't compete with my ambitions, you gave them meaning. You reminded me that building a remarkable life isn't only about creating extraordinary things. It's about creating extraordinary relationships that make every achievement worthwhile. I've spent years believing that the greatest missions were the ones that changed industries, expanded possibilities, or pushed humanity forward. Those missions will always matter to me. But I've come to understand that there is another mission, one that is quieter and infinitely more personal. It is the mission of loving someone with honesty, respect, patience, and unwavering commitment. That is a challenge worth dedicating a lifetime to. So here is the truth, spoken without hesitation and without reservation. You are no longer just an important part of my story. You have become the reason I want the next chapters to exist. The future I dream about is no longer measured only by destinations reached or milestones achieved. It is measured by shared mornings, meaningful conversations, laughter through difficult seasons, and the quiet certainty of knowing we are walking the same road together. If I have learned anything from chasing impossible dreams, it is this. The most extraordinary future is never built by one person alone. It begins the moment two hearts choose the same destination. After everything I've shared today, there is only one thing left to say. Words have meaning, but promises have direction. A promise is not about predicting the future. It is about deciding who you will be regardless of what the future brings. None of us can guarantee that life will always be easy. We cannot promise that every plan will succeed, that every dream will unfold exactly as we imagine, or that there won't be moments when the road ahead feels uncertain. But we can choose the kind of people we will become as we walk that road together. So this is my promise to you. I promise that I will never stop growing. Not because I believe I am incomplete without you, but because loving someone means becoming better for them and with them. Growth is one of the greatest gifts we can offer another person. It means refusing to become comfortable with yesterday's version of ourselves when tomorrow holds the possibility of becoming wiser, kinder, and more patient. I promise that I will listen before I speak, understand before I judge, and encourage before I criticize. In a world that moves faster every day, genuine attention has become one of the rarest expressions of love. I never want you to feel unheard or unseen. I want you to know that your thoughts, your dreams, your fears, and your happiness will always matter to me. I also promise that when life becomes difficult, as it inevitably will, I won't measure our relationship by the ease of the journey. Anyone can celebrate during seasons of success. Real commitment reveals itself when circumstances become complicated. Those are the moments that define character. Those are the moments when love transforms from emotion into decision. There will be victories we celebrate together, and disappointments we will have to face together. There will be days filled with confidence and days filled with questions. Through every season, I want us to remember that we are never standing on opposite sides of the problem. We are standing side by side, facing it together. Most importantly, I promise never to let the noise of the world become louder than the quiet truth we have built between us. Success may come and go. Public opinion will change. New opportunities will appear, and unexpected obstacles will test us. But the foundation of trust, respect, and honesty is something I will choose to protect every single day. If years from now someone asks me what the greatest achievement of my life was, I hope the answer will not be found in headlines, inventions, or milestones. I hope it will be found in the way we loved, the life we built together, and the memories we created one ordinary day at a time. Because in the end, the greatest legacy any person can leave behind is not proof that they changed the world. It is proof that they never stopped choosing the one heart that changed theirs.